Yep, it's all about the cross. The most significant thing that ever happened in the history of man, in the history of this race, in the history of the world, in the history of the universe, is the cross of Jesus Christ. Everything centers on it. The Old Testament centers on it. The New Testament centers on it. Much of the Gospels center on it. As a matter of fact, like when we get to the end of Matthew and Mark, Luke, and John, there's more chapters on each of those books about this and what he did, because it's the most important thing. The life of Jesus was absolutely remarkable. Extraordinary life, healing and teaching and preaching, and the wisdom that came out of him is deep. It's fantastic. What he did with people's lives, how he changed lives, is just remarkable. But more remarkable than that was his sacrifice, his sufferings for you and me. The purpose of this Messiah wasn't to come and, change the world initially. I mean, like wipe it out like he did in Noah's time. He didn't come to change governments, and all that. He came to establish his government. He came to establish his rule and his kingdom, but he did it through the cross. He came to die. That's why he was born. He was born to die. He was born to die for you and me. And then we say, that's wonderful and all, but what does that have to do with me? Because you must come to Jesus too. In the last video, we talked about that Jesus said, if you are going to come after me, then you must, deny yourself and die to yourself. Like live for me and die to anything that's against me. So if you're going to come after me as a review, there needs to be a conversion. There needs to be a change. Conversion, and think about it like a convertible. You know how a car changes with the roof, it goes back. So it's a conversion. You change. You convert from sin to God, to obedience and all. From a life that's living for self to a life that's living for Jesus. There's a cost involved. Now, you don't pay for your sins. He paid for that. But if you're going to follow Christ, there's a cost. You have to give up stuff. But it's good. It's not have to. I want to give up stuff. Look what he did. He gave up his life, his bloods of his life for me. I'd be willing to do anything for him. Wouldn't you? Yeah, he definitely is worth it. You cut ties off. And that may be, not just cutting ties of sinful stuff that you do, but cutting certain relationships off and cutting like friendships and maybe backing off from certain family members because they're influencing you to do wrong. You cut off your life from the opinions of the world and the glamour and the glitz and the celebrities of the world and all. You just cut yourself off of things that don't really matter. You live a cross life. You live as if you're dying for Jesus every day, so that's really good stuff. There's a commitment involved of going after him. You commit to follow him and do what he wants you to do. That's what it means. And you come after Jesus, which literally means to obey him, and you follow him. Jesus said, follow me. So another way of doing it, another picture of this denying yourself to make sure, because I just want to go over this a lot, because if you get this, you're on your way. This is really good. So I'll try and draw this. I'm not that great. Okay, and there's a heart, something like that. There's a heart. Now, this is what it needs to be in the heart. This is what it means to deny yourself. Number one, you take self and you say, bye. Now you replace it with Jesus. Okay. Now I'm going to erase that. You want Jesus to live in the center of your life, and you want him to live it, and you want to obey him. Your heart is like, I'm going to obey you. That's kind of like what it is when you get married, or if you have kids or something. You live to please those kids. You live for to please your wife and your husband or something. You live for that person. You give your heart to them. That's what it means to give your heart to someone. It's no longer about me. I'm not going to live single and please me. I'm seeking to please another. That's what it means to please God and to live for him. So it is, I'll say it this way, you live for his will now, what he wants. God's will, not my will. Be done. Okay, so it's God's will. Or another thing, I'll do this. I'll put this one. You live it now for the kingdom of God. You're living as a member, a subject of his kingdom. That means he rules. He rules the heart. This is like a throne, and he rules in your heart. Or another thing, we'll just do it. There's different ways of saying this. Jesus's lordship. Okay? That he is Lord of you. Now, what does that mean? Again, let's go over it. So let's draw different things here. That means he is, and this is still talking about denial of self. Okay, and to die, deny and die. Deny yourself, Jesus said. And that is basically you have to sometimes say no to certain relations, which is kind of sad, but you might have to say no to certain friends that you may have now. You might have to cut them off. Nicely, you be friendly to them, but you're going to definitely not do anything that they do, and may have to say, you know, I can't be a friend because of this or whatever. I don't know, there's a way of doing it. You love them, you be kind to them, but you might have to back off from them, and that's one thing. Another thing, to be able to deny yourself. See, he's got center now. If he's in the center, then things change. That's that conversion that I talked about. You got to your desires change. You want him to change. Now, of course, because of that, even your feelings about things, your feelings or opinions is another one. I said that last time. Your feelings and your opinions change. You have to change your feelings about things. Like, I used to feel this way about this, or I don't feel that anymore. Or another thing that happens when you've got Christ in the center of your life is that you start hating sin more and more and more. You know, Christ is living in there. He's filling you with his. You go, oh, I used to do that. I used to lie. I used to do this. I used to cheat. I used to act foolish. I was gossiping, and all that stuff just, you start having different feelings. You hate it. You hate this stuff. Feelings of hatred come, and feelings of anger when you see sin around you and all. You start feeling sadness and anger at how people are treating others and all that. You really start feeling like what he feels. And speaking of sins, that definitely is, you stop sinning. You know, you're gonna be obedient. You're living for God, and because of that, this is you deny yourself of sins. So you deny yourself of each one of these things. Another thing might be you might deny yourself of gain. Like, what do I mean by that? Gain or profit. I'll do this, profit, which is a big word for some of you younger ones. It's trying to get stuff. You're trying to get rich, or you're trying to get, you know, whatever. You gain, let's say you want to gain popularity. You want all these people to recognize you. Nah, you say, I deny myself of that. I'm not interested in becoming popular. I'm interested in getting Jesus to be popular. I want others to know him. So see how self kind of fades off in the background and Christ comes out more and more. You decrease, you get less and less, and he becomes more and more in your life. That's what it needs. Another thing that actually happens sometimes is honor. Okay, your honor changes. In other words, your reputation. Sometimes, you know, you have to give up your reputation, meaning you've got a good reputation. People think you're good and all that, but you might have to deny people of where they're not going to respect you anymore. Well, you have to give up that respect if you respect God enough to have him respect you, and you don't care whether you get honor from them or not. You go for God's praise. You go for God's honor. Another thing is, believe it or not, you in self protection. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't protect yourself, but basically what this is saying is you kind of give up your life even for him. You give up your life itself. You actually give up life itself. Self-protection, self-preservation, preserving yourself. That's what the apostles, they died for him. And that's what Jesus said. Whoever comes after me, let him deny himself. And that means you might have to die for me, and especially if you're getting persecuted in a certain nation, and they're going to say, you better deny Jesus or we're going to put you in jail. Or you better deny Jesus, like you're not going to live for him anymore. You're not going to preach Jesus and all. And so we're going to kill you. You say, go ahead and kill me. You know, I'm cool with that. I'll do it. And that's an honor to die for Jesus, you know. He did it for me, I'll do it for him. That's good. Okay, another one is, another big one, like let's say, is time. Time. You deny yourself of time here. Okay, you give yourself up, you give your time up for him. And of course, there's going to be some time that you have to go play and have fun and do this and that, do some sports or whatever. But you start giving up more and more time as you say, more, I want to give time into the Bible. I'm going to give time in my prayer closet and all. And that includes, well, I don't know, what else? There could be other things that you could think of that you have to kind of give up for Jesus. It could be giving up food, or like I said the other day, like pleasures. I'll do this one. Pleasures, okay, which is food. I said three things: fun, food, and festivals or feasts. Or festivals. Let's say festivals. Oh wow. I'll say parties. I like kind of putting in 3 F's, but that's right, parties and all. So you might have to give up things like that. You might have to give up your dreams and your ambitions. I've mentioned that, where you thought you were going to be, so you want to be something else. But now that could be God's will if you got a talent or something like that. Yeah, definitely. But you're willing to do what he wants you to do and give it all up. But let's say you're really good at a certain thing. Let's say you're a great mathematician, very sharp on math, super, and you want to be a professor, you want to be a teacher. Or let's say you're a super soccer player, baseball, basketball, football. Let's say you're super at, who knows, there's a million different things out there. And yet God calls you to be a missionary. He wants you to go over across seas or something somewhere and share with where nobody's going to know about you hardly except those people, and you live for years trying to reach people for Christ. You gave up your ambition, your dream, and then God will bless you for it. You'll get rewarded for it. So there's our second time. I just kind of want to hit that one more time, and I think maybe I can go ahead and share the rest of this. Let's do the rest of it instead of putting it in a separate one. So there's deny yourself again. The next one, do you remember what it says? He said, take up your cross, and that's basically a sense of really not actually dying, but that may end up that way. But you give up whatever, like another way I could say this, you give up anything that is against Christ and you say, I put it on the cross, so to speak. Okay, so all those things, whether it's sins or pleasures and all that, you put it all up here. You say, there, you're going to die, and I'm going to self and all its desires and all the evils of self and everything else, you give it up for him. And you take yourself and you sort of die, and then the new self, you kind of choose to have to live for Jesus like this, okay? And then you follow him. Following him is kind of like this, if I can share it this way. Well, there's our apostles right here. These all decided to follow Jesus, okay? So here they are coming to him, and they decided to follow him by giving up their ways and their talk, their ambitions. Some of them gave up, all of them gave up their jobs. It looks like they were no longer fishermen, and tax collector gave his life up. And so all these guys gave all that up. Anyway, they are. I'm going to push them aside for a second here. So another way of thinking of it can be kind of like this. Let's pretend this is like Jesus. So, he died on a cross for you and me. So he gave up his life. And then he says, you die, and then die to yourself and all. And then follow me. Following him means you decide that whatever he does, you do. Whatever he says, you say. And so this one is following Jesus. Of course, he should be down here. He's over him. But you follow him. Like he's going that way, you go this way. He lives that way, he lives this way. He believes this way. So wherever he goes, you follow him. See, and you copy him. You follow his example. That's what it means. So you say, well, what's his example? Well, we'll find out about it in the Gospels, in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And you can find out how he acted, what he said. And the more you get to know him and the more you pray and seek him, those two things, prayer and the Bible, then you'll be able to actually literally follow him. His spirit will lead you. His spirit leads me. He's inside me. And I read the Bible a lot. And as I get to know him through the Bible, then I get to follow him and do what he wants. And what's cool is that decisions that I make each day, or how I'm going to talk or what I need to say, the Bible just pops up in me and I go, oh, I'm supposed to do that. Oh, I'm supposed to do that. You put the Bible in and you start living it. And then you follow his example. I'm trying to follow his example perfectly. I'm trying to follow it. I don't always, do it perfectly, but it's getting better and better, and that'll happen in you. All right. God bless you. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this.